I've stolen Brainiac's exobytes and released them into Earth's atmosphere. They hold the powers stolen from the heroes and villains of my time, and will bestow them on anyone they contact. The exobytes will create a new breed of superhuman to fight Brainiac's invasion. You must teach them to use their new abilities, for they must be on the front line in the coming battle, or my grim future will become your own.
Sony Online Entertainment's newest MMO is another in the growing field of superhero-inspired MMOs, but this one actually has an actual comic book company's backing. DC Universe Online is the first MMO to be licensed by a major comic book company. The basic story shows us a future event wherein Lex Luthor finally defeats Superman, only to suddenly see his victory turn into a crushing defeat as Brainiac comes to claim the Earth. He then travels back in time to present-day DC Universe with stolen technology from Brainiac to try and change the future, by turning more of the population into superpowered heroes or villains to fight Brainiac's upcoming invasion. After the opening cinematic, players are able to build their character. Character creation can be quick and easy, or as long as involved as players want, with the choice of choosing a template based off a DC hero or villain, or going with a more customized look and power setup. Character creation is fairly varied and can be a lot of fun if one really wants to get into it. The opening area of DCUO is a Brainiac harvesting ship which serves as a tutorial level to get players familiar with the controls for movement and combat. The end of the tutorial level has players fighting alongside either Superman or Lex Luthor, and then migrating to one of the safe houses for whichever faction they belong to. From here, players will be shown the basics of the safe houses and given a new quest. Most main storyline quests consist of a few parts that lead to a solo instance called a playground, that ends with a boss fight of some sort. Between each part of the quest line, a voiced-over introduction to the next quest is given that directs players to the next area. Like pretty much every MMO, the quests get repetitive pretty fast. Go here, kill these guys, collect this, etc. The nice thing about the quest, though, is in how the quests with multiple objectives work. Every time an objective is fully completed, the XP is given, even if the rest of the quest objectives still need completion. Also, except for the side quests, players don't need to find a quest giver in order to turn them in. Just open the log, find the completed quest, hit complete. This helps keep the pace moving along, and the item rewards are immediately placed into the player's inventory. All of the main quests are designed to be done solo. In fact, there are no real group quests available until the max level. This can hurt the game, however, as it makes for newer MMO players to not really know the role they have chosen while they level up. As the game progresses, players are able to join alerts, which are 4-player instances, but they boil down to whatever the quest for the alert says, mainly kill X enemies, then fight a mini-boss, repeat until the end boss. There isn't a whole lot of strategy to fighting the bosses besides just zerg the hell out of it and make sure your healer can keep the tank up. Unfortunately, getting into alerts and raids later on isn't as easy as forming a party and going. Players or groups must queue up and will be teleported to the instance when they are at the front of the line. This can lead to a lot of waiting around. It can also lead to situations where a member of the group disconnects and another player joins from the queue, only to be asked to leave for the group mate that disconnected. This was definitely a poor design decision in some ways. It is nice to let solo players queue up for the alerts, but it would also be nice to just let groups enter and stay together in case someone disconnects. In fact, bad design choices seem to be quite the norm for a lot of DCUO. Players will find that their quest log becomes very cumbersome to go through the more quests they have, and there is no ability to drop quests. There is also no ability to share quests with groupmates. The UI is slow and unnecessarily clunky. There is no way to pick and choose your targets a la tab targeting in other MMOs, so players will find they often are picking a target very far away while being beat upon at close range. Or worse, that they have targeted an object in the world. The controls can feel unresponsive, especially right after one breaks the crowd control effect. The annoying PlayStation 3 on-screen keyboard shows up and takes up 3/4 of the screen, even if one is using a USB keyboard to type messages. There are also no dedicated general or looking for group chat channels, which just makes everyone use the shout command to talk in the open world. The voice chat has been hit or miss since launch, with miss being more often noticed. There is no crafting system in place, an oddity for a Sony Online Entertainment game, and no auction house to sell off items players can't use. Also of note for the PlayStation 3 is the abhorrently logged download times when installing the game and patches, but this has more to do with how Sony throttles their PlayStation network over the size of the downloads. There's also the enormous amount of bugs that plague the game. Sound bugs seem to be the most prevalent, with the sound completely disappearing or partially so, or an extremely annoying bug where when the communicator decides to go off with a voice message, it just continuously beeps until the player logs out and back in again. Other bugs do happen, however, such as interactable items used for quests in the world simply not being where they're supposed to be, or when a player gets to a new area and dies from enemies that they can't see. Open world enemy respawn timers seem to have a mind of their own, sometimes taking a long time to respawn enemies, other times causing enemies just defeated to immediately repop. Also, at the present time, all of the wanted posters for bounties, save one for the villain side, are missing from Gotham City. This isn't to say that everything about DC Universe Online is bad. The graphics are decent, but can sometimes take a while to load in. The voice acting for the main characters is very well done, although Joe Schmo on the street is less so. Combat is fast-paced and can be fun when actually targeting the right enemies. The Jim Lee drawn comic-style headlines after beating a boss are fantastic to look at and bring a sense of the vision the game wants to go for. There are lots of little things to search for and find in the open world and in instances, keeping people busy if they care about the lore of the game. Unfortunately, I don't foresee DC Universe Online having a lot of staying power in its current incarnation. The bugs and bad design decisions really hamper the fun of the game the longer one plays it. The first month is free, but I can't see a ton of people continuing to pay after that first month unless Sony Online Entertainment gets its act together with the patches and adding of new content, which unfortunately means Sony Online Entertainment will probably have very little incentive to fix the game and add new content because there won't be a ton of subscribers. DC Universe Online isn't a bad game, but it's far from great. It does have a lot of potential, but unless that potential is strived for, and soon, I can't recommend the game right now.
It's